As promised, very excited to welcome, coming off a national championship at Georgia football head coach Kirby Smart. Coach Smart, number one, I appreciate you joining us on this Friday.
Thank you guys, man. Excited to be here and looking forward to finishing up some recruiting for us. Our coach is getting ready to go on a break, and it's much needed.
Yeah, and the breaks are very few and far between, so you got to take advantage when you got. Well, Coach, I want to go ahead and start, and something we've talked about since I started the show was, we talk about recruiting and X's and O's and stuff like that, but building a culture that everybody is able to take part in, a championship culture, a culture that not only helps the older guys excel, but the younger guys know what to expect once they come in and they're a part of it. How long does it take to build a championship culture, really regardless of where you're at?
Well, I think that's probably measured more in how well you recruit, what the talent level of the players you have is, but that culture is not easily achieved. It's something we've worked really continuously. We're intentional about the way we work at it. We have a lot of exercises to help the older players, to help the younger players, to get buy-in. I think your players deciding to stay when they have an opportunity to come out. A guy like Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt could have easily left last year and probably been second or third round picks. They both end up staying. They both end up going in the first round. That really helps your culture because more guys want to do that. But we wouldn't have great culture here if we didn't have a great staff. And we've got a tremendous staff here that works tirelessly to make sure the culture is right.
Yeah, that can be the difference on 4th and 1. Typically it is. It's, not the play that's called. It's how you execute it and how close you are together. But, Coach, another thing we talk about is how the game keeps evolving. And, we have NIL now and the transfer portal, but really schematically it keeps evolving as well. We see rule changes every year, whether it's updates to targeting. You can block here, but you can't block there. You got to be parallel to line of scrimmage, all that stuff. How have you as a head coach continue to still have your identity, we talked about culture, but be able to be malleable and evolve and say, you know what, maybe offensively the times are changing or we need to adjust? How important is that to being able to maintain success as the game evolves?
Well, if you don't evolve with the game, it'll pass you by. I learned that from the best. You got to be at the cutting edge. You got to know what's going on. You got to remain relevant. I had the great fortune this year of being on a rules committee. Of course, I don't know if that was a great fortune. Punishment, not knowing that I would spend the national championship in Indianapolis. I got to go back to Indianapolis where they did the NCAA rules committee. And I sat through 2 days of long, grueling meetings of things that I never knew you could even meet about.
Yeah.
And things you could even ponder about on rules changes. And, the biggest part about that is the safety.
Yeah.
Like, people don't understand the targeting. A lot of people don't like it, right? I hear people fuss and complain about college football and targeting and how they're going to change this and that. At the end of the day, the purpose they set out to do, which is reduce concussions and reduce those violent striking blows, they've reduced those. The offset of that is probably some dislike by fans and some questionable decisions. And the purpose is to make it a safer game. And I've got a son that plays the game. I hope football goes on forever. I want it to be safer. So if that rule makes it safer, I think we have to listen to it and understand it. The rules of blocking below the waist, we've just changed. We've gone parallel with the NFL. And they found through their studies and their numbers, which they spend a lot of money on, that it cut down on knee injuries. So if it works, let's do it. And I think you're always trying as a coach to try to use those rules to keep you on the cutting edge of winning and trying to be at a competitive advantage. And that's what we try to do here.
Yeah, well, we always say if you're not evolving, you're dissolving.
Yes, sir. That's a fact. Coach, you return your starting quarterback, Stetson Bennett, from a national championship winning team. JT Daniels transfers out to West Virginia. You have a stable of young guys, Brock Vandegrift, Carson Beck. You got Gunnar Stockton in the room. What is the status of the quarterback room as camp approaches, and what are some of your goals for those younger guys?
Yeah, I would easily say this is the best when you take a picture of the whole room. Top to bottom, those 4 guys that are going to meet in that quarterback room in fall camp, the most depth we've ever had, especially the most depth of kind of like the guys that I know and trust can play the position. Brock's been through a couple springs now. Carson's been through a couple springs. I've got to see him in spring games. I've got to see him in game action. You get to see these guys really compete and grow. And obviously, we know Stetson's played in a lot of football games from what we saw last year. And Gunner had some promising stuff in the spring. So I really am excited about where those guys are. What do I need to see? I need to see them continue to develop, take on that leadership role. We've tried to put those 4 guys in front of the team or maybe in front of their individual age groups more often because we want to see them develop. We want to see them get ready to play. And you don't ever know when your number's going to be called at quarterback. We've seen that here really over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
Because we've seen a different quarterback emerge from maybe who the season starter was a couple times. So I'm excited about those guys. They've got great ability, and I think Coach Monken and the staff does a great job with them.
Well, that's great insight. All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty here, Coach. You grew up in Bainbridge. I grew up in Statesboro. These guys are from Alabama. I know you know where the best barbecue spots are. So talk to us here. Where's the best barbecue, and what are you getting there? You pulled pork guy? You getting some baby back ribs? What's the deal?
Man, I love barbecue. The saddest part of that question is I don't know that I've ever had a bad barbecue place.
I love it. Wow. There he is.
If you've seen me eat or seen my physique, there's not a lot of barbecue that I've missed. I will tell you, being born in Alabama and son of a coach, it always was pretty cool to go to Dreamland.
No doubt.
I don't want to discredit them. And the first couple of times I went, I didn't know there was no menu. It was like slab of ribs,
some bread,
and white bread. That's it. Man. I was dipping the sauce in the sauce cup and eating the white bread. But there's some places in Athens that I really like. Sauce House is really good. They do a lot of catering for us, and some great barbecue places really all around the South. But I always take the chance when I go recruiting in the smallest, just most hole in the wall place, I can find a barbecue joint and stop by and get a great, just rib sandwich and love to eat barbecue. I think it's part of the South, and I love it.
Yeah,
I love that.
That brings it. It's organic right here, Coach. Recruiting, especially getting towards signing day. Those last in-homes, you're going in and eating. What's the most amount? Because you got to eat. You can't not eat. Unless you don't want the kid, but you're not going there if you don't want the kid. But, Coach, what is the most meals at night or during a recruiting trip day that you've had to eat in one day? I know that's a random question. It inspired me.
I've got some great stories. That would be another podcast of some meals. But the irony of that is we schedule it so that I don't have multiple dinners because we're like all in. We go for the whole dinner.
For sure.
So it's not like I've had to do one of these. Oh, I got to go dinner here. I would have to pop in and pop out, and that's usually rude. So I've had a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner. So I've had 3 in a day, but I've never had multiple dinners. But now I've had a few miscues by coaches where they fed me thinking we weren't going to eat, and then I went into home, and now I've already put down a Chick-fil-A spicy chicken, and now I go in there and she's got her spread ready. And I'm looking at the coach like, are you serious right now?
For sure. You like the kid off Matilda. They make eat the cake. But it is Flamin' Dragon Friday.
It is Flamin' Dragon.
We don't call Blaine on Flamin' Dragon Friday,
right,
Coach. We call him Flamin' Dragon. And he said that if you called him Flamin' Dragon,
I'm peaking.
He's officially peaking, and he would officially be Flaming Dragon.
So I'm supposed to call him Flaming Dragon?
If that's okay.
I feel like that counts, though.
Does that count?
I'll count that in general.
I don't have enough insight to know what that actually means.
Well, it's an inside joke. It's not anything bad or anything.
Look, we brought up
but he said Flamin' Dragon.
Yeah, that is true. We brought up Dreamland. I'm a huge, but not the barbecue and banana pudding.
Yeah,
their banana pudding. Yeah, I love eating that. But hey, let's go back. You mentioned it earlier. Let's go back to the draft. You have 5 first-round picks in the draft, 15 in total, which is a new record for the draft. Oh no, how does the head coach, how that made you feel seeing those guys get picked, and how that draft success helped you in recruiting?
Well, it certainly helps in recruiting, but it just made me proud. I'm proud UGA alum already, but to have that happen, under our watch and our staff, it's just incredible. And it spreads a lot of wealth out there, right? I'm looking out my window at the strength staff is out there running with kids, and I'm like, okay, they get a lot of that credit. Our player development staff, they get a lot of that credit. Our recruiting staff, you have all these departments within your organization, and none of it would be successful without the players.
Yeah.
And all these little parts add up to make for a really great organization that had 5 guys picked. So it was a great honor. It was cool. We're trying to do it again. We're on to the next one.
Absolutely. Hey, you go down this roster. I mean, there's a room that sticks out to me, and that's the tight end room. I mean, you got Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington, Arik Gilbert, probably the most dominant room in the country. You know, how do you really plan offensively to keep all three of these guys in the loop on offense?
Well, first key is keeping them all healthy, right?
Yep.
I mean, Darnell missed time last year with foot injury. Arik's had some injuries in his past. Brock had a shoulder surgery. So, you know, first thing you got to do to have depth, you got to have depth so that you can compete and have guys really fight for that playing time. But those three guys are really good. I think we think Oscar Delp's had a great spring practice. Rylan Godey's coming off some injuries. And then Brett Seither had his best spring, a young man that we signed a couple years ago. So we really like that room. What I really like is the competition within that room. We're trying to find roles on special teams so they can go out and help there as well and steal some more snaps because we lost 3 linebackers that got drafted at inside backer. It's rare to find 3 inside backers that got drafted in the 3rd round or better. We're losing a lot of special team snaps out of those guys. So those tight ends got to cover it up. But we'll get the ball to those guys and spread it around because I think Coach Monken and Coach Hartley's staff, they do a great job of getting the ball to tight ends.
Yes, it's not a problem.
Can't wait to
call
watch
it a problem. That's a great problem.
Iron sharpens iron.
But Coach, last question I just got to ask you: being a Georgia alum, you know, not having just won it, you know, for the first time since 1980, how does it make you feel? And I know, again, you're a guy that deflects credit. You take accountability and you deflect credit. But just personally, how did it feel for you? Because that dog red runs through your blood as well. How did it feel to you to be able to do that for not only yourself, not only the players, but the fans and everybody involved in Georgia? Because you know how much happiness that brought to a lot of people that have been thirsty for a long time.
Well, it was gratifying because you do it for all the others. You do it for the families of the staff. You do it for everybody in the organization. It was self-gratifying for myself because we never won one when I was here. And it was something that we always wanted to achieve, and we want to go achieve again. But for me, it was what you do your job for, right? You do it really hard. You try to be the best at what you do. And we were able to accomplish that last year. But the minute it's over, as a coach and a competitor, there's no competitor I know that's not thinking about the next at bat, you know, the next shot you got and how you can do it better. And that's what we've done here. Our staff's turned the page and trying to get better for the next one.
Definitely. And I know you're probably already tired of talking about last year. You got a whole new year coming up. Coach Kirby Smart, again, congratulations, Coach. I know you guys are ready to have another big year this year. Definitely going to be watching y'all. Would love to have you back and appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it, and go Dogs.
All right, Coach. Thanks. Hey, if you like that content, go ahead and subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, String in a Cup. As long as you're listening, we appreciate you. Go subscribe now. It's Cranick Company.